while washing my girlfriend's underwear. I discovered a distinct scorched yellowish outline on the fabric. Inspecting it closer, it was unmistakably a burn mark from a cigarette butt. But I've been completely smoke-free for over a year now, and my girlfriend doesn't smoke at all. Who can explain to me what kind of messed up situation this is? I stood frozen in the bathroom clutching the underwear, unable to stop my mind from racing into absolute paranoia. The more I analyzed it, the more suspicious it became. Right then, my girlfriend shot me a WeChat message, "Hubby C, I have to grind overtime again tonight. Go ahead and sleep first." I actually used my connections to pull strings for Ajen's job, securing her a position as an HR assistant at a private firm, just so she could have a chill, stress-free routine. Yet lately, her overtime metrics have been off the charts. Every single night, she doesn't log back home until nearly 10 o'clock at night. Initially, I didn't question it, assuming she was genuinely swamped with tasks. But looking at it now, there is a massive glitch in this matrix. Something is absolutely undeniably wrong. Suppressing my mounting rage, I messaged her back, "What time do you clock out?" "Gigs. I'll drive over to pick you up." "Oh, no need at all, hubby. You know how it is. It's the end of the year, so our workload is insane. I have zero clue what time we'll finally wrap things up on my end." I instantly threw on some clothes and bolted out the door, speeding straight toward Ajen's office building. Her office floor was fully illuminated, and standing by the entrance, I could faintly hear hushed voices echoing from inside. Instead of charging in blindly and blowing my cover, I retrieved my phone and dialed Ajen's number. "I'm not comfortable with you commuting home alone in the dark. I'll just wait for you at the base of your office building." "Wait, didn't I explicitly tell you not to bother?" "It's no hassle, babe. My car is already parked downstairs at your building." "Wait, you actually showed up, but what are you even doing here?" Hearing the blatant panic disrupting her voice on the other end, I cut the dialogue short without another word. After hanging up, I quickly ducked into the shadows of the stairwell. A few agonizing minutes later, Ajen finally emerged from the office floor, closely followed by a guy dressed in a sharp business suit. The moment they reached the elevator bank, they locked hitboxes and clung to each other, intensely swapping spit in a desperate lingering farewell kiss. The man kept locking lips with her while his hands went completely rogue, aggressively groping and running all over Ajen's body. Witnessing this absolute atrocity caused my rage parameters to completely redline. My instant impulse was to breach cover and manually terminate this toxic scummy duo right then and there. But at that exact millisecond, I intercepted the male character outputting a smug laugh. "Your default male? Your boyfriend's tracking system is genuinely obsessed with you, huh? Ugh, don't even mention that low-tier NPC. He clings to me like a parasitic debuff. Total vibe killer. No way let his account just sit idly downstairs at the checkpoint. Let's extend our little session right here. What kind of chaotic simulation are you running?" His model could execute an upward pathfinding route at any random moment. The exact last time his system initiated a voice link. Didn't we successfully run a high-risk instance together anyway? What's there to fear? Ugh, your build is purely malevolent. I absolutely detest your playstyle. Processing this dialogue, the horrific reality finally updated in my core system. It turns out, my entire existence had long since been integrated as a core gameplay loop for their sick amusement. Right then, the man's facial mesh shifted directly into the light. I recalled scanning through Ajen's guild broadcast logs previously, where I caught data visuals of their corporate team-building events. This male unit was the corporate faction's vice president, logged under the ID of Achang, rendering in an incredibly superficial elite human disguise. Yet despite being fully calibrated to the fact that his female subordinate was locked in a relationship matrix, he intentionally forced this storyline. Directing a trash tier, Ajen falls for Achang's soap opera plot explicitly to mock me. Furthermore, parsing the underlying code of his verbal inputs. He was clearly leeching massive satisfaction from the pure high of treating my profile like an absolute fool. If I break cover right now to forcefully drop their relationship status meters to 0, and initiate a massive toxic shouting match before blacklisting Ajen, it would be an entirely too merciful game over screen for these two scumbags. At this exact frame, a complex multi-layered revenge macro began quietly formatting deep within my database. Before Ajen stepped inside the elevator asset, I stealthily triggered a screen capture of the two units locking hand meshes. When I descended to the ground floor checkpoint, Ajen was already positioned beside my vehicle asset. Masking my status effects to project absolute ignorance, I pathfound directly to her side. "I calculated that your task would require a much longer runtime, so I went to execute a restroom macro down on the first floor. The campaign wrapped up early, okay? Hurry up and unlock the vehicle door codes. My temperature meters are hitting absolute sub-zero here." Throughout the entire transit route, she simulated an extreme exhaustion status effect, closing her optical sensors to rest, which perfectly aligned with my build as I had zero desire to feed any dialogue strings to her account. During the midnight server cycles, I exploited her sleep state to stealthily scan her mobile device storage. It was only then that the unredacted truth fully loaded. Their profiles had been running this illicit co-op affair macro for several long months. Her account originally migrated into this corporate faction server back in June. By August, her flirting scripts with Ah had completely scaled out of control. And just a brief server patch ago, the two entities finally bypassed the ultimate restriction boundary. Utilizing mandatory overtime as a smokescreen, they ran blatant intimacy macros right inside the office instance. And during the exact timestamps when this toxic trash tier duo was engaged in their illicit, frenzied co-op pairing. I was operating like an absolute low-tier NPC at home cooking culinary assets for Ah-Jen, running the laundry loops and stressing over her simulated exhaustion levels. I was constantly panicking over her safety variables during the late-night commute, all while projecting and rendering a future timeline where we locked in, a permanent max-tier marriage contract together. Yet this is the exact data packet she transmitted to Ah via WeChat regarding my profile. His scanning system possesses zero suspicion protocols when checking my logs, ASIC, and his account wallet is constantly open to sponsor my character upgrades. Jen then counter-queried, "What premium traits does that default wife asset at your house even possess? Her build is completely outdated, ancient, and utterly devoid of entertainment value. Execute a full account divorce from her, and the millisecond your split registers, I'll dump my current partner." I suffered a massive cognitive lag, unable to process that these vile logs originated from my own bed partner, but staring at the massive sprawling database of over 1,000 toxic chat strings. Every single text line felt like a high-damage lash debuff striking directly across my character model. Jen's assessment was mathematically accurate. Prior to today's server cycle, my security firewall had never once flagged her profile with suspicion. I never cross-examined her coordinate tracking data, nor did I ever intercept or read her mobile storage logs, which is precisely why her system felt entirely safe and overconfident, completely neglecting to wipe her incriminating chat history from the local cache. I fixed my optical sensors on the sleeping entity resting right beside my hitbox, and a sudden calculation hit me. Her entire build was completely corrupted. The sheer level of her filth triggered a massive nausea debuff across my system during the early hours of the following morning server cycle, as Ah-Jen was rendering her cosmetics her device terminal output an incoming ring alert. With absolute chilling nonchalance, she toggled the voice link, "Greetings. Director Chiang, what specific administrative task requires my attention?" Understood. I will optimize my pathfinding to arrive early today and sync that data directly with your station. I asked, "Is there an emergency faction quest at the firm?" Exactly. The high-tier executive is aggressively spamming my notifications to log in immediately. It can't be helped. The year-end queue is packed with the high-priority tickets. I calculate that my account will likely be locked into an overtime loop again tonight. I analyzed the highly striking vibrant facial textures she had mapped onto her skin, paired with a form-fitting high-tier pencil skirt cosmetic, and simulated a wave of deep protective concern. What if I deploy my network connections again to transfer your account to a completely different corporate server? My system can't stand seeing your energy bars constantly depleted like this. Jen instantly pushed an aggressive rejection macro against my suggestion, insisting her current meta strategy was to grind hard and farm experience while her build was young. Furthermore, she noted that securing this specific slot had already drained my social currency credits, so aborting the questline now would result in a massive reputation penalty for our guild. Concluding her dialogue, she glided toward the exit node and leaned in to initialize a kiss asset. The exact millisecond I computed that she had utilized those exact same lip vectors last night. To unlock an intense mouth-to-mouth swap macro with that scumbag Ah-Chiang, I immediately simulated a search for lost items to dodge her collision box. Based on the local text logs harvested from her device last night, I calibrated that their incoming call protocol was highly rehearsed. If my player model was actively stationed in her proximity zone, she would exclusively address his profile under the corporate alias of Director Chiang. However, if my radar tracking showed I was completely out of range, any variant from darling and baby to hubby was entirely fair game for their dialogue tree. Jen had even logged inputs addressing his account as daddy on WeChat, proving beyond a mathematical doubt just how unhinged and wild their hidden co-op loops ran behind the server firewalls. And this specific elite unit, Ah-Chiang, had clearly timed this voice link transmission with malicious intent to test my threat detection, perhaps running a stealth seduction routine right in front of my face. And executing such zero-tier behavior provided them with a massive psychological thrill buff. Since your accounts possess such an extreme craving for toxic gameplay, then my system is officially logging into the lobby to match your energy until the ultimate game over. I initiated a deep database scan to unearth Ah-Chiang's background lore, discovering this absolute fraud didn't just possess a locked spouse unit, but his legacy party already contained 2 child units. The moment his primary wife completed her child spawning questlines, she had executed a resignation macro to become a full-time domestic support build for their guild. I sacrificed a portion of my currency reserves to hire a stealth tracker to monitor his coordinates for a brief cycle, uncovering data logs that this degenerate was concurrently running secret encounters with his own married ex-girlfriend asset. The pathfinding parameters for those two entities always routed directly into local hotel instances with zero delay. I consolidated every single scrap of incriminating media evidence into a secure vault, expending significant processing effort to pull the communication network tokens for him, his family faction, his ex-girlfriend profile, and even the unique contact ID of that ex-girlfriend's current husband unit. On this specific server cycle, Ajen deployed her usual fabricated overtime notification to my inbox. Maintaining an absolutely desaturated ice-cold facial mesh, I pushed my automated reply, "Understood. Ensure your account consumes nutritional items on schedule, as any HP depletion on your end would trigger a severe distress debuff in my system. Hey, noted hubby, make sure your own profile eats well, too okay." When the midnight cycle triggered, I stationed my vehicle asset outside their corporate base coordinates, utilizing a freshly registered burner SIM token I had pre-purchased to transmit a high-damage text packet straight to Ah-Chang's wife. Does your primary spouse profile constantly claim his account is locked in overtime grinding? Your system firewall had better run a comprehensive security sweep immediately, unless your account enjoys being completely blindfolded while a critical breach occurs. Certain malicious entities are currently double-dipping into their legacy romantic caches with extreme satisfaction. The target terminal attempted to force an immediate voice link return, which my system promptly terminated and blacklisted. Left with no alternative, her account pushed a frantic text inquiry, "Identify your profile ID. What exact corruption data are you implying with this transmission? He possesses a long-term ex-girlfriend model in his legacy database, correct?" The exact millisecond I finalized that specific leading prompt, I completely locked down my channel, ignoring any further high-panic counter queries from her terminal. After all, when dealing with a support class player who has channeled 100% of her character specs and resource pool exclusively into maintaining her family base, this sudden unredacted anomaly would inevitably trigger a catastrophic systemic breakdown. Planting that initial microscopic virus of doubt regarding her husband's activities was more than enough to compromise her system. I sat back in my vehicle asset, calmly monitoring the radar. Sure enough, within a brief countdown, Ah-Chang sprinted down to the ground floor. His facial animations were completely warped with sheer panic as he bolted directly toward the parking lot instance, clutching his device terminal while frantically trying to input a damage control explanation. Jen trailed behind his model, her face completely contorted with pure unadulterated frustration. The millisecond my sensors confirmed her exit from the lobby, I slammed the accelerator mesh to the floorboards, exiting the map area with max satisfaction. Even though Ah-Chang's wife currently held a default housewife class tag, her base stats proved she was absolutely not an NPC to be trifled with. Her parental units operated a lucrative commercial corporate guild in this local zone, backed by two high-level older brother units who completely optimized her protection. She had essentially lived her entire life cycle with premium max-tier status buffs. Her historical server logs indicated her personality was incredibly fierce and highly combative. Ah-Chang's link with his ex-girlfriend was already deeply corrupted and toxic. Now that I had injected this critical intel drop into the server, if his wife executed a comprehensive diagnostic sweep, his entire playthrough would hit a catastrophic wall. Consequently, during this recent patch, he drastically downgraded his threat profile to remain completely incognito. Not only did he execute a punctual return macro to his home coordinates every single evening, but he completely desisted from spamming seductive late-night text scripts into Ah-Jin's inbox. This sudden shift in his mechanics completely short-circuited Ah-Jin's sanity meters, behaving like a typical desperate homewrecker unit trying to force a permanent party upgrade. She began aggressively spamming Ah-Chang's WeChat channel with unhinged logs. What tactical advantage does your account gain by letting that woman moderate your schedule? She is ancient and completely toxic. Are my character specs genuinely not infinitely superior to hers, but a gold-digging fraud like Ah-Chang, whose entire status tier was completely hard-carried by his father-in-law's massive power guild, strictly segregated his main base assets from his side quests? He calculated the cost-benefit parameters with chilling precision to further provoke Ah-Jin's emotional volatility. During this exact server phase, I executed a complete 180-degree flip on my own behavior settings toward her account, regardless of whether we hit an argument node or a communication conflict. I completely deactivated my compromised subroutines, refusing to yield an inch. I regularly ran psychological loops that left her facial textures flushed red and her blood pressure redlining. Yangxiang, your account actually possesses the audacity to raise its voice volume against me. Every single piece of support data you provided me in the legacy patches was a total simulation. It proves the universal rule that all male player units share the exact same corrupt source code. The second you secure the loot drop, you completely neglect its value. I idly watched her character model enter an unhinged frenzy, possessing zero desire to waste a single text string to calm her down. I simply executed a shoulder shrug emote replying, "Process that data packet however your system desires," getting struck by this devastating psychological counterattack from my side. Jen's toxicity and revenge protocol scaled up drastically. Exploiting my simulated sleep state at midnight, she frantically spammed desperate chat strings to Chiang, ultimately escalating her dialogue into high-stakes blackmail threats, stating that if his user profile dared to keep shadow banning her notifications and ignoring her inputs, she would permanently trash her own filter and force a direct face-to-face collision with his primary spouse unit. This nuclear option dialogue string absolutely paralyzed Chiang's security protocols. Furthermore, after being locked under his wife's high-severity restriction mode for a prolonged cycle, his character model was genuinely suffering an intense frustration debuff. Driven by desperation, the two entities synchronized a new strategy to bypass the firewall and out-of-town business trip. The millisecond Ajen breached the residential entry node, she path-found straight to the bedroom to pack armor assets. Hubby. Our corporate guild suddenly scheduled a high-priority HR talent optimization seminar, and my account has to execute a regional transit for an out-of-town mission tomorrow. An out-of-town mission, how many server cycles will it run? Just a brief 2-day instance, then I'll execute a recall macro straight back. Babe, did your internal clock suffer a calibration error? Tomorrow is Saturday. We explicitly locked in a co-op quest to have a culinary event with your parental units, remember? Jin snapped back in a sharp tone. A basic dining event can be rescheduled to literally any random timestamp. But if my character misses this professional progression, unlock the opportunity is permanently deleted from the map. Watching Ajin's avatar frantically organizing her inventory assets, I remotely accessed her background mobile system notifications and successfully scraped the unredacted digital receipt for a luxury hotel reservation. The following morning, Ajen manually overrode my offer to escort her to the high-speed rail terminal node. I chose not to push the issue, allowing her to assume her stealth script was running smoothly. The instant her model cleared the area, my own account went active, executing zero idle time. Purchasing a few high-value luxury gift assets, I initiated a transit path straight toward Ajen's parental base. Their residential zone sat inside a neighboring sector, a brief 2-hour driving instance from my local map. Her parental units possessed 0 official high-tier professional occupations, and their party roster included a leeching younger brother unit who had 0 employment stats, spending 100% of his daily uptime grinding low-tier video game instances. Uncle Auntie, I've executed this manual pathfinding to your location today, completely outside of Ajen's notification network. The truth is, my system is prepping to trigger the ultimate marriage proposal event for Ajen. Look, Shang, your relationship matrix with Ajen has been active for over a full cycle now. It's definitely the correct timeline to negotiate formal alliance parameters. However, initializing a permanent marriage contract is a massive resource sink. I am fully calibrated to the fact that a marriage alliance requires both main guilds to sit down at the table and meticulously iron out the strategic terms for the union. Rest completely assured, Ajen is a top-tier companion asset. My family faction will absolutely deploy premium server resources to demonstrate maximum sincerity for her recruitment. Her mother swept her optical sensors greedily across the premium loot packages I had positioned on the table. As her parental support class, we aren't demanding game-breaking exploits. We simply project that our daughter secures a high-net-worth main house alliance that values her character model and constantly dispenses high-tier upkeep buffs. In reality, Ajen's parental units had repeatedly attempted to extract data regarding the exact financial dowry capital my primary house was capable of spawning upon marriage. I had long since executed a market analysis on their local sector within Ajen's native regional grid. The standard baseline dowry price range hovered around 66,000 to 88,000 credits, which wouldn't overextend a standard player's budget. However, to fund the lifestyle of their completely degenerate, unemployed son, their parental units intended to extort a game-breaking premium rate out of my wallet. Uncle, your tactical analysis is entirely correct. You and Auntie can drop your defensive barriers completely. My faction's dowry package will absolutely smoke whatever the regional average is dispensing, ensuring Ajen's profile suffers 0 status loss compared to any rival builds on the server. Processing my highly ambiguous open-ended verbal bait, her father cleared his throat to regain his posture, while her mother immediately hijacked the dialogue stream to advance their play. Young Shang, our daughter, has successfully completed a premium bachelor's degree track, and her character model is visual perfection incarnate. You probably lack the server intelligence on this, but even when I explicitly broadcasted that Ajen's slot was already locked by a boyfriend, the high-tier matches raiding our compound to negotiate a marriage contract for her have been spawning in one relentless wave after another. Take our literal next-door neighbors who finalized their daughter's marriage quest last month. Her character stats and tier list position are absolute trash compared to Ajen, yet the groom's house still dropped a massive 500,000 credit dowry bounty on their table. I cut in, Auntie my house is prepping an elite 880,000 credit dowry package. Her mother was so utterly staggered, her avatar nearly clipped through the ceiling mesh. She had drained exactly half her water consumable and hadn't even processed the swallow macro yet. Yangxiang, is that legitimate data your system is outputting? Do your primary parental units validate this exact same resource distribution? Affirmative, I've fully synchronized this strategy with my parental support units, and their approval parameters are 100% greenlit. I even oriented my device to show the elderly couple a completely spoofed fabricated chatlog packet I had pre-coded. The absolute greed instantly illuminated her facial textures as she gasped, "Look at my corrupted processor." Yangxiang has been stationed in our lobby for ages, and I completely neglected the tea brewing macro. My system hasn't even unpacked the full feature list yet. Furthermore, the residential property asset where I am currently deployed was completely funded and bought outright by my parents with a full cash purchase script. Once the alliance is sealed, I intend to add Ajen's profile tag directly onto the deed asset, since Ajen is locking her account to mine. I am hard-coding maximum security buffs directly into her user experience. The millisecond this massive lore drop hit their ears, the two elder players were too visually stunned to output a single coherent line of code. Haha, hey old man. Why is your character model standing there like a laggy NPC? Sprint to the kitchen station and initialize a fruit washing sequence for Yangxiang immediately. Right then, my audio sensors captured heavy gaming sound effects radiating from the bedroom instance. I was fully aware that coordinates belonged to Ajen's completely trash-tier failed build younger brother Ayong, Uncle Auntie. My calculations suggest that keeping Ayong permanently stationed in this idle home map isn't an optimal strategy. That absolute clown unit. We've presented him with numerous career quest lines, but his filter rejects every single one. If a slot is low stress, he whines about low currency generation. If the payouts are high, he complains the grind drains his stamina pool. He spends every daily server cycle raising our stress meters to critical levels. I smiled. An elite connection in my friend group operates a commercial corporate guild, which currently has an open slot for a corporate driver position. The task script simply requires operating a vehicle to shuttle high-tier clients between nodes, and the monthly base payout hovers near a clean 10,000 credits. Should my profile submit an inquiry on behalf of Ayong, the operational stress is minimal. The resource yield is highly optimized, and the schedule tracking is completely flexible. What parameters does your system calculate for this proposal? The millisecond his parental units parsed this data, they ecstatically locked their hand assets onto mine, completely refusing to break the physical connection. Are those legitimate server stats, Yangxiang? If your profile successfully executes this questline for us, you will have resolved the absolute biggest bottleneck threatening our family guild's stability. I repeatedly broadcasted to her father that Yangxiang was a flawless top-tier match. Transferring custody of Ajen's character model to your party is an absolute win. Following that, Jen's parental units issued a high-severity prompt demanding I remain stationed for a dinner event, but I pushed a polite bypass macro to decline. After all my itinerary parameters for today's server cycle were packed with tight deadlines, I still needed to deploy and execute the core phase of my main questline. The exact timestamp I clocked into the coordinates of that luxury hotel instance Ajen booked was precisely 10 o'clock p.m. under the server clock. The stealth tracking unit I had sponsored forwarded her exact check-in data packet to my terminal, the literal second her avatar processed the check-in script earlier this afternoon. Room ID 8402. I immediately routed this specific coordinate token directly to a completely different user profile. Brother, my account has officially provided all the tactical assistance it can allocate for your raid. Exactly 30 minutes down the timeline. A spectacle-wearing male unit accompanied by a max-strength tank build crossed the boundary node and entered the hotel lobby instance. I anxiously hid myself right at the edge of the stairwell, watching the spectacle-wearing unit spoof his identity as room service staff to deliver an item asset, successfully triggering a door-opening interaction macro at room 8402. The exact moment the entryway mesh retracted, the tank build unleashed a high-damage front kick to breach the room, and instantly, Ajen's high-panic terrified screeching sound effects echoed across the entire corridor mesh. The exact moment the entryway mesh retracted, the tank build unleashed a high-damage front kick to breach the room, and violently forced a path inside, triggering Ajen's high-panic terrified screeching sound effects to redline. Since the server timestamp hadn't migrated into late-night hours yet, a massive wave of active local player models emerged from neighboring instances to spectate the chaos. I seamlessly blended my character into the spectator crowd, covertly activating a stream recording loop. Aqiang and Ajen were rendered with their armor cosmetics severely unequipped and disheveled, their facial textures displaying absolute game-ending terror. The tank unit possessed an inherently massive, overpowered physique, effortlessly applying a crowd control pin that completely neutralized Aqiang's defensive inputs. The spectacle-wearing male unit abruptly generated a heavy baseball bat weapon asset directly into his hand slot, roaring, "You absolute trash-tier dog. How dare your profile infect my marriage matrix with a cuckold debuff, My account is executing a permanent deletion script on your structural integrity today. The baseball bat asset connected with extreme velocity smashing directly into Ah-Chang's midsection hitbox, while the tank unit concurrently deployed a lethal low blow stomp straight into Ah-Chang's lower crotch node. Ah-Chang unleashed a catastrophic agonized screech code as his health bars tanked, clutching his absolute lower vital zone as his character model collapsed flat onto the floor mesh. The entire outer corridor was tightly packed with low-tier spectating players, yet absolutely no one possessed the defense stats or courage to breach the room and aggro the attackers. Ah-Kyang was getting systematically dismantled, his nasal fluids bursting out in a violent torrent. Ah-Jen was completely cornered in the structural blind spot, screeching at max volume, her character model glitching with panic as she frantically tried to equip a basic bath towel cosmetic. Altering her vocal modulation to a trembling high fear frequency, she threatened, "Identify your user profiles right now. If you deliver one more point of physical damage to him, my system is deploying a localized emergency alert." Ha! Go ahead and initialize that alert script. The exact millisecond the server enforcers drop into this instance, I'm filing a formal log stating this male degenerate was hiring low-tier escorts in this hotel room. Hearing her own high-tier character model getting explicitly categorized as a street-level farm bot. Jen's optical sensors flared up with a pure blood-red fury. Go delete your own account, you absolute piece of trash. Your profile is a basic bot, and your entire family faction is composed of low-tier trash bots. If your build isn't a paid escort unit, then explain your current session parameters. This male character model holds a locked marriage contract and active child spawn points. Are you officially registered as his primary spouse unit? If your account holds that license, go ahead and execute that emergency alert macro right now. The spectacle-wearing unit launched such a devastating verbal counterattack that it completely bricked Ah-Jen's dialogue tree. Paralyzed flat on the floor mesh, the exact second the word alert registered in Ah-Chang's processor, he hit absolute panic mode, frantically outputting dialogue strings to override and cancel her threat. The surrounding mob of spectator builds felt their excitement meters spike to maximum capacity, rapidly generating a massive chat storm to analyze the entire drama stream. Their profiles are completely terrified of logging an official enforcement ticket. This confirms beyond a mathematical doubt they are running an illegal unpatched affair instance. This is the first time my account has ever witnessed a live base raid to neutralize a homewrecker build. The absolute visual hype of this event is pure peak entertainment. Ah-Jen was struck with a massive combined debuff of sheer humiliation and lethal frustration, yet with her armor assets completely unequipped. She was structurally forced to shrink her hitbox into the corner mesh to evade the camera lenses. This specific spectacle-wearing male unit wasn't some random high aggro NPC. He was none other than the primary husband unit linked to Ah-Chang's secret ex-girlfriend asset during the previous server cycle. I had executed a massive data transfer, sending the unredacted surveillance logs of Ah-Chang and his ex-girlfriend running hotel instances straight to his personal notification dashboard. Following that lore drop, I broadcasted a tactical offer stating if his profile desired to execute a revenge macro. My system was fully prepared to provide the exact coordinate tracking parameters. The sole constraint was that his party must not inflict permanent HP deletion, guaranteeing that Ah-Chang's fear of server-wide exposure would completely block him from filing an assault log. The spectacle-wearing player finally depleted his stamina bar on the beatdown, viciously gripping Ah-Chang's jaw mesh while outputting a dark, highly satisfied laugh, demanding a hard-coded promise that his account would permanently blacklist and sever all links with the ex-girlfriend asset, before finally concluding the raid sequence, staring down at Ah-Chang's broken character model kneeling and begging for a mercy exploit. My system cleared its stress meters, and I initiated a smooth recall macro back to my primary residential base. When the Sunday morning server cycle initialized, Jen was spotted dragging her inventory luggage case across the entry node, her facial textures rendered with an extreme high exhaustion fatigue debuff as she logged back into the house. Maintaining my absolute poker face, I successfully simulated a persona that possessed zero awareness of the entire situation. Baby, your account processed a return macro ahead of schedule. Why didn't you ping my terminal so I could fast travel to the station and pick you up? Jen executed her deception script flawlessly without a single facial animation glitch, deploying her lies with absolute unbothered composure. Oh, the seminar modules were highly optimized, wrapping up within a single day cycle. But most importantly, my system was suffering an intense longing debuff for your presence, which is why I rushed straight back to our base coordinates. I locked my visual sensors onto her neck with simulated curiosity, asking, what happened to your skin mesh right here? Did your character model suffer an allergic reaction debuff? A colleague dragged me to a traditional scraping therapy node, and their terrible technique left my textures completely ruined like this. I am absolutely triggered by it. Had my system calculated this outcome, I would have completely dodged that questline. In reality, my optical filters had scanned the damage parameters last night. Those distinct high-passion hickey marks stamped all over Ajin's neck mesh. I was honestly highly entertained anticipating. what absolute trash tier excuses Ajen would output to bypass my firewall once she logged back in. To think her solution was to manually execute a therapeutic, skin-scraping routine to overwrite the evidence textures. After dispensing a few more superficial dialogue strings to my character, she claimed her stamina meters required a shower macro, clutching her terminal as she slipped into the bathroom instance to hide her screen. Her true tactical objective was to check the status logs of Ah-Chang's physical injury debuffs. I maintained maximum system restraint, choosing not to breach her cover just yet. After all, their meticulously engineered secret co-op encounter had just been hit by a game-breaking ambush event. Ah-Kyung had been thoroughly traumatized by the physical damage, reverting back to a spineless coward build, and retreating deep inside his safe zone protective shell. Currently, whenever his character model maps Ajen's coordinates inside the corporate server, he literally reroutes his pathfinding to completely steer clear of her collision box. After all his system parameters have failed to calculate or identify the exact user profile responsible for leaking his illicit data logs with his ex-girlfriend, Ah-Kyung even actively pressured Ajen to execute a hard wipe on every single line of incriminating chat logs stored on her device storage. Fortunately, my own system had cloned and archived that entire database long before their wipe script. Because of Ah-Kyung's spineless, cowardly retreat strategy, Ajen was hit with a massive wave of frustration, realizing the high-tier executive she assumed she had successfully reeled in had instantly abandoned her party to repair his primary alliance base. The more her processor analyzed this calculation, the more her resentment meters redlined. During a casual dialogue exchange with Ajen, I intentionally injected an update regarding Ah-Kyung and his spouse unit, Hey Babe, while navigating my transit route earlier today. I could swear my visual sensors picked up that vice president from your corporate firm. He was locked in a close embrace with his wife, projecting an incredibly tender and supportive aura. He truly presents himself as a top-tier husband model, while my voice track continuously praised the high-level harmony of Ah-Kyung's marriage contract. My optical sensors monitored Ajen's facial textures, her lips violently twitching with absolute fury. Yet, watching her desperately suppress her status effects to avoid triggering my detection network flooded my entire internal operating system with a wave of pure exquisite satisfaction. Concurrently, Ajen was relentlessly spamming and pressuring Ah-Kyung over on WeChat. Just how long is my account supposed to remain in this waiting queue? My system refuses to run the stealth relationship macro any longer. A mere handful of server cycles after my meticulously directed hotel ambush event, the schedule logs indicated that her corporate faction's annual gala was fast approaching. The gala venue was hard-coded at a high-tier 5-star hotel instance, and her profile was locked in to perform a solo vocal spotlight on the main stage. I immediately volunteered for a specialized subquest, offering to fully engineer and produce the digital background visual loop for her performance. Exactly 1 day cycle prior to the gala event, I initiated a voice link with Ajen's parental units. Uncle, Auntie, my system is finalized to trigger the ultimate marriage proposal macro for Ajen tomorrow. Could your party deploy to the coordinates and act as official eyewitnesses for the alliance? Uncle, Auntie, my system is finalized to trigger the ultimate marriage proposal macro for Ajen tomorrow. Could your party deploy to the coordinates and act as official eyewitnesses for the alliance? Absolutely zero issue. My target objective is to catch her completely off guard with a massive surprise buff, so it is critical that your terminal doesn't accidentally leak any data packets to her. Hahaha, that is a baseline guarantee. By the way, Young Xiang, regarding Ah Young's career questline, my memory log suffered a massive processing error and I completely forgot to update your system. My high-tier contact agreed to greenlight the application solely based on my profile's reputation score. After all, Ah Young is slated to become my future brother-in-law, so his status parameters are practically identical to a blood brother, right? Young Xiang, your account is an absolute god-tier carry. We'll coordinate a fast travel path with that brat Ah Young to express our gratitude in person very soon. Jen's parental units bombarded my channel with endless waves of gratitude data. I responded smoothly. We're practically part of the same primary guild now, so isn't this baseline support mandatory? Jen's parents were completely drowned in a massive euphoria buff, desperately wishing my account would lock in the marriage contract with Jen without a single microsecond of delay. I had even intercepted server rumors indicating that, during this recent temporal patch, her parents had already mobilized their party, dragging her brother along to scout premium real estate assets. Go ahead and celebrate. Absorb maximum joy metrics right now. Because the exact moment the unredacted truth updates in your core, your despair levels will hit absolute rock bottom. And remember, every single bit of this systemic corruption was hard-coded by your own precious daughter's actions. On the following server cycle, Jen manually initialized an early boot sequence, spending 2 full hours rendering her custom cosmetics, before equipping her ultra-premium, high-value evening gown armor set, and departing for the target coordinates. I required 0 data scans to precisely compute her internal motivation. At her corporate faction's annual gala, every single member of the high-tier executive board would be accompanied by their primary spouse units. Jen was aggressively overlocking her system parameters, hell-bent on triggering a direct visual showdown right in front of Ah-Chiang to completely gap his primary wife's aesthetic stats. I executed a smooth transit macro chauffeuring Ah-Jin straight to the hotel checkpoint. I successfully escorted Ah-Jin back to her hotel room, and then I stealthily slipped inside right after her. The Grand Hotel lobby layout was sprawling enough, allowing me to camp out in the most desolate corner while fabricating a voice call sequence. The local staff units completely assumed my character belonged to the corporate guild, resulting in 0 verification sweeps being executed against my profile. The moment the Grand Annual Gala phase officially launched, the CEO and the Vice Presidential Board members mounted the stage one by one to deliver their server updates. The exact microsecond it was Ah-Chiang's turn to speak, I compiled the exact toxic dialogue strings Ah-Jin had previously messaged Ah-Chiang on WeChat, formatting them into a massive high-damage anonymous text payload, and deployed it straight to his primary wife's notification terminal. A top-tier legendary spec executive like Director Chang fundamentally deserves a vastly superior female lead unit to complement his status. The moment he clutched my avatar and whispered that your build was just a generic faded background asset, my system truly registered how pathetic your playthrough is. My solo spotlight performance triggers on the main stage today. I highly suggest you fully calibrate your visual sensors and analyze the display thoroughly. See for yourself whether your low-tier build or my premium model truly matches his tier list. Ah-Kang's wife had initially been radiating immense joy, hoisting her terminal asset to execute a high-definition video capture. The literal millisecond she parsed that text packet, her facial animations instantly collapsed into pure malice. Once Ah-Chiang dismounted the main stage, his threat detection protocols apparently flagged that his spouse's mood parameters had severely tanked, prompting him to run a brief check loop. His wife maintained an ice-cold frozen facial expression, refusing to output a single dialogue string, instead channeling 100% of her cognitive focus to violently lock her optical gaze and scan every single youthful female character model executing a stage performance. Right at that critical timestamp, my device haptics triggered an alert. Originating from Ah-Jin's parental units, correct? Uncle, your party can bypass the perimeter check and pathfind directly inside. My character model is currently stationed right at the main lobby entrance mesh. Ah-Yong was also locked into the party roster alongside Ah-Jin's parents, being fully aware that my account had supposedly secured him a high-yield, low-stress career questline. The kid flashed an exceptionally bright max affinity smile the moment he located my coordinates, relentlessly spamming brother-in-law across the voice chat. I returned his enthusiasm with a completely fabricated hollow smile. Jen's musical solo is about to initialize on the server timeline. The exact microsecond she concludes, I will instantly mount the stage to trigger the proposal event. Her corporate guild members are already fully synchronized to support the macro. Finally, the system queue advanced to Jen's official stage spotlight, as her character model advanced into the center mesh. Her ultra-meticulous cosmetic renders, paired with an off-the-shoulder gown asset highlighting her collarbone geometry, made her entire avatar appear completely ethereal, premium, and top-tier luxury. Jen oriented her optical sensors directly toward Ah-Chiang, who was stationed at the absolute front row VIP table, her gaze completely overflowing with unmitigated defiance. As if broadcasting a clear status update to his system, behold my true specs. I am radiating raw youth and flawless aesthetics. Can that ancient woman occupying your adjacent slot even compete with my base stats? I locked into a cross-armed idle emote, my internal excitement metrics completely shattering their limits. This exact climax timestamp has finally initialized on the server. The massive projector display suddenly booted up to render the background media file. As the introductory audio track concluded, the melody of a beautifully arranged instrumental track began echoing through the banquet hall. Jen hoisted the microphone asset, slowly unlocking her vocal strings, rapidly immersing her consciousness completely into her own premium stage performance. Yet her scanning arrays failed to detect that the facial meshes of the entire audience had simultaneously warped with horror. Affirmative, the background video file had been completely hot-swapped by my system. I had seamlessly preserved the master instrumental audio track, but totally overwritten the visual data with the raw footage of her and Ah-Chiang getting brutally wiped. During the high-damage hotel raid event, Jen's parental units stood frozen right beside my hitbox, their jaws completely dropping to the floor mesh. Ah-Yong was the absolute first unit to break the voice channel, exclaiming, "Mom, isn't that my sister's exact character model?" She actually entered an illicit hotel instance with another player. Her mother instantly executed a panic mute command to silence his voice chat, turning her trembling gaze toward my coordinates, her voice cracking, "Yangxiang, talk." That compromised asset on the display absolutely cannot be Jen. I manufactured that daughter unit myself. There is zero chance my sensors would misidentify her build. It is mathematically impossible. I completely cut off their party notifications, redirecting my camera lock onto Ah Chiang, whose jaw had unhinged as his optical sensors locked onto the big screen, his eyeballs looking ready to completely glitch out of his sockets. Ah Jen, looking down from her high stage position, tracked Ah Chiang's broken expression, highly likely computing a false assumption that his system was completely hyperfixated and paralyzed by her sheer aesthetic appeal, causing her smug arrogance meters to scale up even higher. The CEO and the entire executive tier stationed at the front row table displayed facial textures that looked as utterly toxic as if they had swallowed garbage assets. Meanwhile, the low-tier casuals at the back of the room unleashed a chaotic torrent of mocking jeers and rowdy boos. As Ah Jen advanced further into her lyric track, her system finally flagged a severe anomaly. The entire lobby crowd wasn't actually analyzing her character model at all, but was completely hyper-focused on the visual space directly behind her. She initiated a slow rotational macro to check her rear, at the exact timestamp where the video footage zoomed directly onto her face, rendering her wild, completely unkempt hair cosmetic during the beatdown. Jen instantly suffered an absolute system crash on stage, letting the microphone asset slip from her hand slot to collide with the floor mesh, unleashing a deafening high-frequency audio glitch across the PA system. I simulated a state of absolute heartbreaking despair, turning to her father. Uncle, does your system still possess the processing power to claim that model isn't Jen? Her parental units stood completely bricked, lacking a single line of defense code. His parents were left completely speechless, totally unable to utter a single word of defense. She was so consumed by lethal humiliation that she desperately wanted to glitch through the map geometry and disappear. At this exact frame, 100% of the lobby's visual focus was intensely locked down, directly onto Ah Jen and Ah Chiang's coordinate point. Ah Chiang was reduced to a pathetic tail-wagging stray dog build, on the absolute verge of executing a full kneeling submission macro right in front of his wife's feet. Honey, this isn't the actual data log at all. Please allow my system to explain the sequence. So this is the unredacted truth behind your hard-coded promises, that your account would absolutely never execute an illicit side quest again. Honey, let's initiate a recall macro back to our primary base first. And the second we log in, I'll run a full explanation loop for your system, okay? A corrupt link with your ex-girlfriend wasn't enough to deplete your greed metrics. So now your account has synchronized with a home wrecker asset right inside your own firm. No wonder your profile has been constantly spamming the overtime grinding status message every single cycle. Honey, I swear on my account life, I have never breached our loyalty contract. Honey, I swear on my account life, I have never breached our loyalty contract. Ah Chiang's audacity to deploy a denial script while staring down a permanent game over screen was the ultimate catalyst that completely broke his wife's remaining patience. She slammed her primary input hand violently against the table asset, unleashing a max volume furious voice line directed straight at Ah Chiang's face. Go delete your entire build, you absolute fraud. My system is going to completely dismantle that home wrecker asset on stage first. And the exact second she is neutralized, I am coming to wipe your account from the server. The high-tier executive table asset was positioned closest to the main stage geometry, allowing Ah Chiang's wife to bridge the distance in 3 aggressive strides, launching herself onto the stage mesh. Jen panicked, frantically executing a backpedal macro, but her hair physics were instantly hard-locked and grabbed by the rampaging wife. The wife began executing high-damage punch macros directly across Jen's facial textures, roaring, "My system is going to permanently delete your character model right here. Do you genuinely want to test my aggro parameters?" Jen shrieked at max damage volume, forced to cross her arm defensive hitboxes over her face, possessing absolutely zero counterplay or evasion frames against the assault. Staff builds rushing onto the stage to deploy crowd control blocks, low-tier spectators shouting across the local voice chat, and dozens of users recording the entire high-tier drama exploit for internet cloud storage. The entire instance collapsed into absolute unmitigated chaos. The server crowd expended significant stamina to finally separate the 2 collision boxes, but Jen's cognitive processors had completely blown their fuses, wiping her rational limits. With her optical nodes flashing blood red, she faced the primary wife unit, screeching into the mic with completely unhinged psychopathic hysteria. Fine, then let's run a complete data synchronization and lay the full code bare today. But Jen's cognitive processors had completely blown their fuses, wiping her rational limits. With her optical nodes flashing blood red, she faced the primary wife unit, screeching into the mic with completely unhinged psychopathic hysteria. Fine, then let's run a complete data synchronization and lay the full code bare today. His love parameters for your account have hit absolute 0. Do you comprehend that basic stat? Your alliance contract is dead. You two are destined to hit a forced account divorce sooner or later. Your only minor achievement was spawning 2 child units for his lineage party. What premium specs do you honestly think your trash build brings to the server? Ah Chiang suddenly bellowed across the channel, "You absolute parasitic." Home wrecker build, you've been a toxic virus. Aggressively spamming and harassing my account since the literal second you logged into this firm. You even spoofed my pathfinding and lured my character model straight into that hotel trap. Let me force a hard-coded data update into your processor. The absolute legendary tier love of my life is and always will be my primary spouse. Unit, what kind of low-tier trash item asset do you think you are? Assuming your basic specs can even compare to my wife's god-tier status. I am deploying a final high-severity warning to your system. If your malicious profile continues to threaten the structural integrity of my family alliance, I would gladly execute a permanent deletion script on my corporate career quest line, just to guarantee your character model and your entire family guild face a total server wipe. Jen's entire operating system completely froze with shock. Her visual sensors locked onto Chiang with absolute reality-shattering disbelief. Her mouth rendering a series of silent glitches opening and closing, yet completely failing to output a single line of defense code. One must comprehend that mere frames before she mounted the main stage instance. These two exact player profiles were locked in a heavy flirtation loop, constantly transmitting mutual affection data packets across the network. Kiang executed a sharp pivot, desperately begging his spouse unit, "Honey, can we please run an immediate recall macro back to our primary residential base? I am literally begging you to authorize this instance exit, please." After spectating this peak premium drama from the shadows for so long, the server timeline finally advanced to my own official spawn event. I fully calibrated my emotional animation parameters, clutching a massive proposal flower bouquet asset I had prepared and charged onto the stage mesh. Channeling 100% of my character's physical scaling attributes, I unleashed a high-impact devastating punch straight into Chiang's facial hitbox. I had been overlocking my rage meters for this strike, catching him with 0 defensive frames available. His character model staggered violently backwards before collapsing flat onto the floor mesh. Immediately after, I swiveled my visual sensors toward Jen, projecting an aura of absolute heartbreak. My system was locked and loaded to execute the ultimate marriage proposal macro for your account today. Yet, my sensors never calculated that your profile was running such a massive deception script against me all this time. This decrepit locked marriage degenerate. Just what kind of god-tier loot specs does his trash build even possess to make you betray our faction? I unleashed a maximum volume roar, perfectly blending genuine rage with calculated drama. Jen's guilt and terror parameters spiked simultaneously, shattering her composure as her character model broke down into a heavy crying animation. Seizing the initiative, I violently hurled the heavy bouquet asset directly at her collision box, outputting a definitive alliance-dissolved voice line before executing a flawless exit macro from the venue. The exact millisecond I crossed the outer boundary node, I let out a massive deep breath. Every single point of suppressed rage I had stored across multiple server cycles had finally been completely discharged in a single glorious payload. My entire system instantly wiped its stress debuffs, feeling incredibly lightweight and optimized. As for the catastrophic server penalties Chiang and Jen were slated to experience next, that was simply the natural system retribution for their corrupt playthrough. Next, I compiled every single line of incriminating surveillance footage and chat logs I had harvested, packaging the entire toxic database into a single comprehensive leak file. Next, I compiled every single line of incriminating surveillance footage and chat logs I had harvested, packaging the entire toxic archive into a massive centralized data drop. This compressed file contained absolute proof of their illicit hotel instances, their degenerate WeChat text logs, the fraudulent business trip schedule records, and the complete unredacted high-definition master video of the hotel base raid. One copy deployed straight to Chiang's primary spouse terminal, one copy routed to Jen's parental units, and a server-wide broadcast sent to every single user ID inside their corporate firm. My core objective was to ensure both the betrayed allies and the casual spectator mobs received the exact same level of premium unredacted data access. Whether his wife initializes a permanent account divorce against Chiang is outside my mission parameters. However, I am hard-coding a guarantee that from this exact frame forward, his reputation score will remain permanently and utterly obliterated. Having successfully executed this ultimate retaliation script, I initiated a highly satisfying long-duration rest macro. The very next morning at the start of the server cycle, Jen was forcefully escorted to my residential base coordinates by her parental units. However, I denied their party permission to cross my threshold or breach my entry node. Her parents actually still possessed the audacity to run a plea script on her behalf. Young Xiang, your profile has been linked with Jen for such a massive duration. There is substantial affinity data logged between you two. You absolutely cannot execute a rage delete on this relationship. Auntie, since your party has spawned at my coordinates, this is the absolute perfect timestamp to lay out the unredacted code. I genuinely calculated a future where our profiles formed a primary guild alliance. But as the server stands right now, any future link between Jen and my character model is mathematically impossible. Young Xiang, please stabilize your system parameters and reevaluate the calculation once more, okay? Jen has already sustained massive game-breaking punishment debuffs. If your frustration metrics are still redlined, she will submit to whatever physical damage or toxic chat you want to deploy, as long as it successfully wipes your anger meters. If your frustration metrics are still redlined, she will submit to whatever physical damage or toxic chat you want to deploy, as long as it successfully wipes your anger meters. I locked my optical focus onto Jen, whose visual textures were severely ruined from crying, harboring absolute zero empathy or pity metrics for her avatar. Uncle, there is zero utility in wasting your processing power on this. You are also running a male character build. If your profile occupied my exact coordinates, do you honestly compute that this level of corruption can be tolerated? Jen's entire inventory assets have already been packed into storage. Your party can take this trash data straight back to your own base coordinates. My residential zone is not a server waste treatment node, and I refuse to hoard low-tier toxic garbage items inside my vault. Concluding my dialogue track, I violently hurled her luggage item asset across the exit threshold, and immediately executed a hard close command on the door mesh, severing all connection. Jen's father, realizing that the relationship status was completely locked beyond repair, right outside my entry mesh, unleashed a brutal, maximum fury verbal beatdown against Jen. You absolutely worthless, pathetic piece of trash. Take a good look at the absolute disaster your account has coded. Your mother and I completely overlocked our processors, burning through our life bar to secure your marriage alliance. And this is how your character responds. Now your career quest line is permanently deleted, and you forcefully dragged your mother and me into this lobby instance, just to suffer ultimate public humiliation. And what about your brother? Your brother's top-tier job opportunity and his prospective housing assets have both been entirely wiped out by your shameless brain-dead playthrough. Your brother's top-tier job opportunity and his prospective housing assets have both been entirely wiped out by your shameless brain-dead playthrough. My system simply cannot compute this catastrophic error. An $880,000 dowry payload was locked in. Zhang Xiang was even fully prepared to modify the property contract deeds to include your username. Where in the entire game world will your profile ever locate a god-tier carry like him again? Tell me, how is our party supposed to salvage this playthrough now? How? You only care about grinding a premium house asset for your precious son. What does any of that have to do with my own character progression? Didn't your terminal constantly pressure me to reel in a high net worth whale, just so you could leech my blood bar to max out his low tier stats? Don't boot up your hypocritical, loving parents simulation mod in front of me now. You have completely broken your behavioral parameters, girl. Possessing the absolute audacity to direct such toxic dialogue at your own father. My guild permanently disowns and deletes your daughter unit from our family registry. Cease the physical damage macros. Stop hitting her right here. Other player models will witness this chaos shortly. Execute a recall macro and handle this inside our home instance. I watched the real-time security feed outside my threshold bursting into a wave of pure savage laughter when I initially engineered those massive fictional promises to manipulate Jen's parents. Wasn't this exact tactical climax the precise outcome my system anticipated? The grander the illusions I hard-coded into their minds, the more lethal their burning resentment would be toward their own failure of a daughter. Meanwhile, over on Qiang's coordinate points, his status logs weren't looking any more optimized. He was desperately trying to pacify his rampaging spouse unit on one channel, while simultaneously attempting to shamelessly camp out and retain his high-tier slot inside the corporate guild. However, wherever his avatar path inside the office meshes, he was relentlessly targeted by mockery and toxic gossip. Unable to withstand the permanent psychological debuff, he was forced to manually pack up his inventory items and launch his own exit macro in total disgrace. His primary wife immediately initiated a hard-coded divorce protocol against his system, demanding a total asset liquidation that would leave his character completely bankrupt. The custody of their two-child units was entirely transferred to the wife's party roster, leaving Qiang with a massive monthly child support gold drain that severely crippled his economic stats. Right at this exact high-stakes temporal junction, Jen executed an absolutely brain-dead logic-defying macro. Her parental units had initially calculated that, by fusing the $880,000 dowry funds promised by my account with the entire collective savings stored inside their family vault, purchasing a premium fully paid real estate asset for their son would be an effortless achievement. Driven by this delusion, they had aggressively rushed out to scout the premium property market. They had even advanced through the transaction phase and deposited a heavy cash down payment. Who could have calculated that my account would permanently dissolve the link with Jen, causing 100% of their carefully engineered strategic blueprints to instantly dissolve into pure vapor? However, if their party failed to complete the premium real estate purchase contract, their $100,000 non-refundable deposit payload would be permanently wiped from the server. Driven by absolute desperation, they began spamming loan requests across their entire network just to barely scrape together a basic down payment. inside that completely toxic family faction. Ah Jen's code was completely hardlocked on forcefully ascending to the primary wife slot, while her parental units were utterly hyperfixated on grinding out that property asset for their precious son, having entirely depleted their remaining shame metrics. They actually engineered a truly horrific bottom-tier scheme forcing Ah Jen to forge a pregnancy status modifier. Seeing that the primary culprit, Ah Qiang, was aggressively running an evasion macro to avoid any contact, Ah Jen actually deployed directly to his parental unit's base coordinates, brandishing a completely fabricated medical report. She marched straight into their residential instance. Ah Qiang's mother suffered such a massive psychological shock that her system literally blacked out on the spot. His father immediately triggered an emergency vehicle summon macro and directly dialed the law enforcement faction, faced with high-tier authority units. Jen's defensive scripts instantly shattered, leaving her too terrified to deploy any further deception codes. She was forced to fully comply, unredacting the raw data logs and confessing that her character model had never actually possessed the pregnancy status modifier. Ah Qiang was already radiating maximum toxic frustration due to his wife forcing a total bankruptcy liquidation on his profile. The exact microsecond his sensors processed this latest deception event, he instantly mobilized an aggressive raid party, stormed Ah Jen's residential coordinates, and completely obliterated her entire home instance layout into pure junk data. This spectacular high-damage trash versus trash PvP showdown provided my terminal with an incredibly satisfying long-duration entertainment loop. Then during a late-night server cycle, Ah Jen suffered some severe cognitive glitch, actually initiating a voice link to launch a furious verbal assault against my profile. Zhangxiang, what premium specs do you honestly think your trash build has to look down on me? So what if my account overrode our exclusivity contract and cuckolded your build? My character model synchronized with Ah Qiang inside plenty of other instances besides that hotel raid. You absolute bottom-tier simp unit. I bet your pathetic sensors never even flagged the data, did they? Oh, you mean those corporate overtime grinding records? The precise data logs documenting your overtime macros alongside Director Gao were actually mass deployed to the entire corporate mail network by my own terminal script. The core mission parameter was to ensure every single user inside your professional guild fully processed just how aggressively dedicated both of your builds are to your corporate grinding. Isn't that correct, manager? On the other end of the connection, Ah Jen's audio output completely froze for a massive duration, utterly bricked. I unleashed a cold parting laugh before executing a permanent termination on the voice link, and immediately dropped her entire user ID into my master block list. Those historically arrogant toxic players, who genuinely computed that a loyal carry like me could be endlessly manipulated as a brainless tool asset. Ah Jen and Ah Qiang, upon finally parsing the unredacted truth behind this entire server wipe, will highly likely suffer an absolute system crash and vomit blood from the pure psychological damage. As for my own character having flawlessly concluded this ultimate vengeance campaign, I officially initialized a brand new completely optimized life chapter, and officially embarked on a completely fresh chapter of life.